This is the ultimate whiskey quiz. We've got 15 multiple choice questions and 5 film round questions. If you can get more than 18 of these right, you're basically a whiskey god. If you get less than 8, well, we all needed to start somewhere. Let us know how you do in the comments below, and here's the first question. What is the main ingredient in Scotch malt whiskey? A. Wheat. B. Alcohol. C. Yeast. D. Barley. The correct answer? D. Barley. There are 3 ingredients in whiskey: water, yeast, and barley. So it's practically one of your 5 a day. What is the Angel's Share? The name of this year's winner at the Grand National? The percentage of alcohol lost each year from evaporation during whiskey maturation? A club in Aberdeen? The whiskey you pour onto the ground when you say slàinte. The correct answer is B. It's the percentage of alcohol that's lost to evaporation during whiskey maturation. Ooh, almost mispronounced that word. That would have been embarrassing. Anyway, so every year when whiskey is maturing, a certain amount is lost through evaporation, and it's traditionally called the Angel's Share. What a waste. What is the minimum alcoholic volume whiskey has to have to be labeled Scotch? A. 100%. B. 37.5%. C. 40%. D. 25%. C. 40%. The Scotch Whisky Regulations Act says that for something to be labeled Scotch, it needs to be 40% ABV, or in the US, 80 proof. But it can be any percentage of alcohol above that, but probably not 100%. This is our first video clip question. I'm going to show a video clip, and you guess what film it's from. Ready?
Guy behind the guy.
The Scotch on the rocks, please. Any Scotch will do, as long as it's not a blend, of course. Single malt. Glenlivet, Glenfiddich, perhaps, maybe even a Glengow. Any Glen.
Scotch on the rocks.
Is that from A. Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, B. The Hangover, C. Swingers, D. Ocean's 11? C. Swingers. And if you haven't seen it, you know what you're doing on Boxing Day. The Gaelic term for whiskey is Whisky God, but what does it mean? A. Iron brew with alcohol. B. Water of life. C. Fire water. D. Liquid sunshine. B. Water of life. The Romans referred to whiskey as aqua vitae. This was translated in Gaelic to Uskaba, water of life. And that's the basis for the word whiskey now. What's the official definition of a single malt whiskey? A whiskey that's made from only one type of barley. A whiskey that's made by unmarried people. A whiskey with an ABV above 50%. A whiskey entirely produced from malt in only one distillery. D. A whiskey that's made from one distillery. According to the Scotch Whisky Regulations Act, in order for a whiskey to be a single malt Scotch whiskey, it needs to be made from barley in one distillery and aged for 3 years in an oak barrel. How strong is whiskey when it leaves the cask after aging? A. Around 60 to 63%. B. Around 80%. C. Around 40%. D. Strong enough to win an arm wrestle match. A. Around 60 to 63%. When whiskey comes off the still, it's around 65 to 70%. Assuming it's aged for a minimum of 3 years and the Angels take their share, it comes down to around 60 to 63%. Which of these is not the name of a single malt? A. Bruichladdich. B. Burniston. C. Bunnahabhain. D. Bladnoch. The answer's B. Burniston. Burniston is a TV show in Scotland, and not a whiskey. What film is this scene from?
Ja, mein bester Freund.
There we go.
I thought spies drank martinis.
Scotch, never less than 12 years old.
Is that right? Agency rules?
My rules.
A. Bridge of Spies. B. Spy Game. C. Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy. D. Austin Powers The Spy Who Loved Me. B. Spy Game. And if you haven't seen it, it's really good. You should watch it. When was a tax first applied to Scotch whiskey, causing a rise in illicit stills? A. 1244. B. 1644. C. 1844. D. 1944. B. 1644. The 1644 Excise Act set a duty of 13p per pint of aqua vitae or similar distilled spirit. Obviously, this was very unpopular and led to a huge rise in illicit stills. Why would you pay tax when you can just make whiskey in your bathtub? What are the 5 official regions of Scotch whiskey production, according to the Scotch Whisky Association? A. The Highlands, the Lowlands, the Middle Bit, the bit with all the mountains, the borders. B. Islands, Highland, Cumbersland, Lowlands, Speyside. C. Highland, Isla, Speyside, Campbelltown, Lowland. D. Isla, Speyside, Lowland, Morningside, Highland. C. Highlands, Isla, Speyside, Campbelltown, Lowlands. The islands of Mer, Orkney, Arran are all islands, but are considered part of the Highlands. Whereas all of the distilleries that are on Isla get their own region, because there are 8 of them squeezed onto one tiny island. What film is this clip from?
Nick, it's 18-year-old Scotch. You don't really expect me to pour it back into the bottle, do you?
A. My Mind's Gone Blank. B. Get Shorty. C. The Other Guys. D. Horrible Bosses. D. Horrible Bosses. Which always makes me think of Ed for some reason. Which of these is not a brand of blended whiskey? A. Shite Whiskey. B. Hanky Bannister. C. Pig's Nose. D. Your Ma. D. Your Ma. Despite the name, shite whiskey not only exists, but is pretty good. Whereas Your Ma is not a whiskey. Yet. What does malting mean? A. When you drink so much whiskey, you start to lose your hair. B. The process of spreading damp barley on the ground to germinate. C. The process of roasting barley before brewing. D. The process of soaking barley in horlocks. B. The process of spreading damp barley on the ground to germinate. They take the barley, they spread it really thin, and they cover it in water so it starts to grow before it can be processed and turned into delicious whiskey. What is ground malt barley called? A. Bampot. B. Wheeshet. C. Grist. D. Wort. C. Grist. The ground barley that's mixed with water in order to ferment is called grist. You get the grist of it. What film is this scene from?
Yeah, with this. I'm going downstairs. Get me a drink. You want something? Yeah, give me a glass of bourbon. All right. And a shot of bourbon. Yeah, okay. And a bourbon chaser. Yeah, I'll get you damn bourbon. Don't worry about the door.
A. The Mummy. B. Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. C. Lara Croft Tomb Raider. D. Prometheus. A. The Mummy. Which of these is not a Scotch distillery? A. Balblair. B. Balvenie. C. Ballamore. D. Ballinnock. C. Ballamore. Ballamore is actually a television show set in Tobermory in Mull. But there is a distillery in Tobermory. What would you find in a mash tun? A. Whiskey that's waiting to be bottled. B. A combination of ground malt, barley, and water. What would you find in a mash tun? A. Whiskey that's waiting to be bottled. B. A combination of ground malt, barley, and hot water. C. A TV series set in Vietnam. D. A large quantity of potatoes. B. I've just realized that B is almost always the answer to this quiz. That wasn't intentional. But anyway, the answer is B. Hot water and grist. You put the hot water in with the grist in a mash tun when you release sugars. And that's how it all begins. What film is this clip from?
Hey, you want some? It's bourbon. I'll take a rain check. I don't want you to think I'm a drinker. I can stop anytime I want to, only I don't want to, especially when I'm blue.
A. Gentlemen prefer blondes. B. Some like it hot. C. How to Marry a Millionaire. D. The Prince and the Showgirl. B. Some Like It Hot. Definitely my favorite Marilyn Monroe movie, which is completely irrelevant to this quiz, but I thought I'd share. Do you have ice with your whiskey? A. Yes. B. No. However you want to drink your whiskey is the way that you want to drink your whiskey, and that's okay. Let us know how you did in this quiz by leaving a comment down below, and we hope you enjoyed this video. Remember to subscribe for more whiskey videos every week.